Soaring. Welcome to the newest season of WFO, a show dedicated to men and the silent struggles we face day to day. From tips to deep conversations, we strive to give you a voice in a world that wants to keep you silent. We have been on a bit of a hiatus. Over the course of this video, I'll give you a timeline of what all has transpired and what happened kind of behind the scenes for the show to come back and the steps to hopefully make it more sustainable. So there's a lot to unpack here, but for those that are just coming here for the first time, let me explain what WFO is and the driving force of what we do here. Here at WFO, that's the acronym for the channel. We try to shorthand it as closed captions have made some funny versions of the name, like We for John. So if we say WFO, know that we're saying the show name. So anyways, here at WFO, we try to focus on men's mental health from battling my own issues. I reached out to my guy friends in the streaming world and posed the idea of starting a podcast to try and explain topics we struggle with and dispel some of the taboos that are present in society when it comes to men and addressing these issues. Starting in May 31st of 2022, we started doing audio only as I was trying to figure out how a video podcast would work. Since all the guys minus me are in different states, so we use Discord as the main way to capture our audio. It was a bit rocky, to say the least, as the recording process led to so many issues, and then audio being your only format, you had to get it right. And boy, did we get it wrong. Audio crackling an episode or two were literally so bad I had to remove them from the platform we were using to house the audio episodes. Took a lot of work to start, and well, I'll admit from that, a lot of that work was on me. Here is a little bit of how my brain operates. If you have a project and I'm passionate about it, about what we're doing, I offer my help and I'd be so involved. But if it's my own project, I tend to get overwhelmed and, well, I kind of procrastinate sometimes. Mostly due to perfectionism. I want to get it right the first time. And I know this is how my brain works, so I posed the idea of the podcast as a group project, hopefully try to offload some of that burden. But when I try to pass on any sort of the workload to others, I did get a little bit of pushback. Sometimes I was told, well, this is your thing. And I get that. But I kind of wanted success to happen for all of us, not just because this is my thing. And the podcast kind of fell apart. I got overburdened with trying to schedule, get the episode topics figured out, record, then do all the editing. Well, learn how to edit along the way. And it was a lot. And, without a doubt, a lot of that was my fault. I took on too much too soon. So season 1, we had some pretty hard-hitting episodes. I started to learn how to interview and talk about a topic. My research skills improved. And as the podcast continued, I was flexing all those muscles I was learning to use. Season 1, we had a couple of guests. We had Raptor ATX, Hangry Pixels, Saya Sounds, and Tier Mjolnir. Tier helped me record the bulk of season 1 and became a pretty big staple in my life at that time. I interviewed Saya about his music, who's the creator of our intro. Raptor, who was one of my first friends in the streaming world, would be able to record from time to time, but his personal life was getting harder and harder to maintain a consistent schedule. Angry posed no real issues while recording. The last episode we recorded on season 1 was an interview I did with my son, who was 11 at the time. Probably became one of my favorite episodes to do all throughout season 1. Season 1 ended July 26th of 2022, and the first hiatus started. From my own self-doubts and insecurities, killing pretty much all momentum that we had built. Scheduling to get the guys together was growing harder and harder as we were in summer. A lack of feedback on episodes was discouraging, and no real direction from myself as my own mental health started to go into further decline. Between July 2022 and January 2023, I wanted the podcast to still be a thing and tried to record smaller episodes, but I felt like they weren't good enough as those episodes but I felt that they were not good enough as those episodes where I recorded with one of the guys. I needed that live feedback, and when I didn't get it, I just scrapped the episode and continued on with my life. The guys would go on to continue their lives, and we stayed connected via Discord server or on Twitter. I will never be calling that thing X. It was around that time that I became more involved with other communities, and I would use those to distract myself from my own sadness about the podcast and the things that I didn't want to admit at the time. As 2022 was coming to a close, I realized that the podcast does need to come out, but I pivoted towards YouTube versus just being audio only. I would put in the work to make sure everything looked good on camera, and on January 6th of 2023, the first episode of Season 2 was released. We started the first episode of Season 2 as our state of WFO, what happened behind the scenes and trying to make goals for the channel as a whole. Again, I was joined with Tyr, and overall it was a great episode. Not as long as others, but we were back. This was the season where we kind of played with the format. Instead of getting all the guys together, we focused more on one-on-ones, and we even started doing character deep dives, where we explored male video game characters and broke down their character traits and gave tips on the good aspects of their character and warnings for the bad parts. Season 2 had about a total of 12 episodes or so, and it lasted until March 31st. Some episodes of note were the 2 character deep dives we did with Cal and Hunter. We did another interview with Seiya as his new album was releasing, and then an interview with Margu, who me and him shared a bond because both of our kids have autism. Some new faces joined the WFO family, but this was also going to be one of the last times we get to see Tyr. After episode 3 of season 2, their life became busy and chaotic and pulled away from content creation as a whole. And while I appreciate their time that they put into the podcast, they are honestly greatly missed from normal life to day chats. With the episodes coming out to YouTube, less focus went into publishing to other public podcast platforms, and our numbers dropped. While we were getting 20 plus views on an episode on YouTube, we were getting about 1/4 of what they were everywhere else. My mental health was still on the steady decline, and after season 2 was over, we went on yet another hiatus. Something had to change, and that part that I did not want to admit was me. I was willing to give advice, but was less hesitant to take it. October of 2023, I started therapy. Part of it was an ultimatum. If I didn't get help, then things were not going to get better, but worse. This was a huge pill for me to swallow and one that I needed, but it was one thing that I needed to do, if not for the sake of my family, but for me. Part of why I was so hesitant to do therapy was because part of me was treating the podcast as my therapy. It was getting to be unhealthy for me, so an actual therapist was. I started to see some of those walls come down. I was starting to make some progress and see the effect that it had made on me thus far. And also, because of the progress, it also helped me push through to keep doing it. So as 2023 started to wind down, I had to have a real talk with myself. What do I want to accomplish in 2024 to make it more successful compared to 2023? Well, that involves a podcast. This is something I'm legitimately passionate about, even though my demeanor on camera doesn't always convey that. A lot of it is nerves and anxiety. So what does a podcast look like after 2 hiatuses and changes in formatting? Well, it'll probably be more solo episodes. I do have a couple guys that do want to be on the podcast, but I need to be able to do this solo as well. Even if it's just 15, 20-minute episodes on a specific topic, then that's what it'll be. A guest can be brought on from time to time, can kind of gloss over previous topics that we covered, and also kind of help softball into the next topic. There's no cap on how long the season can be. nor will I mention, seasons to try and keep the content as evergreen as possible. Um, as we record episodes this year, I'm sure you'll see some familiar faces, and you'll probably notice that some new ones. If we have people that want to join the podcast, they're more than welcome. As far as I know at this point, both Tier and Raptor will not be in content. Um, their lives are just so busy at the moment, and while they're missed, I'm going to try and expand, add more voices to the table. What I want from WFO is honestly to reach more people, to create that safe space for other people, and to hopefully be a soundboard not only for myself, but for the other guys in my life. So I want WFO to be successful, whether that becomes YouTube partner, whether that becomes sponsored by any company. That would all be awesome. But they're not the focus. The focus is just being a voice. Like I said in the intro, it's to be a voice for those that are being kept silent. I think it's really hard right now for guys to be kind of vocal about the things that are going on in their life. I understand there's a whole lot of stuff going on, the rise of toxic masculinity, the just I don't know, just the shitty attitudes of like the Andrew Tates and the Jake Pauls. That doesn't speak to all of us guys. I'm a relatively timid guy. I don't pick fights with anybody. Only if someone does anything to my family will I really stand my ground. But yeah, I just want this platform to be a place where we can feel safe to be vulnerable and talk about those heavy topics. Like in season 1, we talked about suicide, and season 2, me and Cal kind of talked about abuse that we went through as kids. They're not easy topics to talk about, and even now, I re-listen to those episodes, I still choke up because they were just hard topics to cover, and you don't hear that from many podcasts. They kind of stay clear. They want to focus on the glitz and glam more topics like intimacy and stupid shit here and there. But I want us to be the place where the heavier topics happen. So, so for 2024, I quit my job. I received a back injury at home, and it got worse at work. So I volunteered in February to quit that job, and me and my wife have been doing like Amazon Flex, to kind of essentially we did that full time. And then just this month, I started doing classes to get my Class A license. So I have a Class B CDL, but I'm currently getting my Class A, so I'll be able to drive like a semi. And ultimately, the goal is that I do that for 6 months, get the experience I need, and find a company closer to where I want to live, which is North Carolina. So we're hoping to move there before the year's over. Hopefully. Right now, I'm kind of just Monday through Friday. I'm doing the school. I got 2 weeks left, and I'm going to be recording the podcast at night, and I got a couple topics already lined up. Episode 2 is going to talk about imposter syndrome. Episode 3 is going to be about burnout. And then once we get to episode 3, I'll know what episode 4 and 5 are going to have. But So to reiterate, here at We Forge On, our goal is to be simple. We are helping each other reach a checkpoint. We will give advice, have those deep conversations, and give you resources that helped us, and point you towards a better you. We're just guys wanting to help other guys without all the toxic baggage the Matrix guys keep talking about. So, if you found this video helpful, leave a like or a comment. That helps us a ton. For more videos like this, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when a new video drops. This has been your host, Soaring. Though life might get you down, stand tall, and we forge on together, never alone.